Alright, folks. It's that time of year again, late December, where every major metal news site starts to put out their top 10, top 20 best metal albums list. And just like every year, it's a tradition that these lists are very poor in quality. So, not that we would expect anything less from them, but sites like Loudwire, as you know, like to put what they believe to be the hot new band at the time, bands like Ghost and Mastodon, up at the top of these lists in order to make that the standard for metal at this time. So, but you and I both know that there are much better bands, younger, talented, sharper bands out there that are much more worthy to be above those. And so hopefully this list will be a little more true, a little more cult to what the fans really think. And so this will be my top 7 personal metal albums list. These are albums that I am most likely going to go back and listen to again and again, on and on, for the months to come. So here we go. Top 7 heavy metal lists. Now, this is admittingly going to start off pretty rough for some people because this band is a little controversial because they are a Christian band, and as soon as I say that, everybody knows who I'm talking about. We are, of course, talking about Stryper. And so, this band has gotten a lot of flack in the metal community because some say they're a little too soft, a little too many ballads, too many love songs, this and that. However, this is one of those bands where some of their best material also happens to be some of their newest material. Everything after No More Hell to Pay is definitely among their best. After their experimental saga in the early 2000s, they finally went back to their roots with No More Hell to Pay and quickly followed it up with Yahweh. And then in 2018, they come back with an album which I'm surprised these men are even capable of saying the Lord's name in vain. I'm not going to do it, but hopefully you can read it for yourself and know what I'm talking about. But this album is definitely one of their most consistent in the most recent years. Songs like Take It to the Cross, Sorry, Lost, very melodic and also very heavy riffs from guitarist Oz Fox, who was having some health issues earlier this year, so we wish him good luck on that. But as for the music, it's very consistent. Of course, you're going to have your ballads, Beautiful, Can't Love Without You. We don't expect those songs to go away. However, songs like Take It to the Cross, as I said earlier, very sharp, very consistent, and so easily the 7th favorite album for me in 2018. Up next for number 6, I am probably going to go to hell for putting a black metal band above Stryper, but that's okay because it is the truth. Northern Chaos Gods is easily one of their best in the 2000s. After Sons of Northern Darkness, my personal favorite Immortal album. To me, this is a band that can be hit or miss. They've had some albums that were kind of iffy for me, stuff like Battles in the North and what was the other one that was in the winter? Blizzard Beasts. Stuff like that to me is a little more distortion and noise than it is music. But to me, their debut album, definitely one of my favorites. And then, as I said, Sons of Northern Darkness. And then this beast, which arrived early this year. Very consistent overall. Very good riffs. Very memorable lines. I don't want to say catchy, because I know black metal fans are going to get upset about that. But starting off very strong with the title track and then Into Battle Ride. And then one of my personal favorite songs, Called to Ice. Very memorable lyrics and, catchy in the, verses and chorus. Very consistent. If you like, bands like Bathory, Dark Throne, this is very much up your alley. And this album was a little bit controversial because it's the first to not feature key member Abath, who went off to do a solo album, which was very bad. However, the remaining members decided to prove how strong they were as songwriters and put out an album that was way better than Abath's solo album. And so, to me, that really shows you who the real strong writers in this band were. So, there it is. Northern Chaos Gods, very much recommended. Coming in at number 5 is one of my personal favorite metal bands, Metal Church. And this is a weird band because it seems like most people in the metal community only talk about their first 2 albums, similar to Merciful Fate. Everyone talks about the first 2. the self-titled and The Dark, which are my two personal favorites anyway. But it is a little strange because their big hit was on Blessing in Disguise. And even the album after that is really good. That album where they're all sitting next to the candles, it looks kind of questionable. Anyway, Metal Church, very strong, consistent band, and well into the 21st century, putting out classics like 11, which was one of my personal favorite albums of 2016. It also came out the same year as another metal album from some band, can't quite remember the name. Anyway, Damned If You Do by Metal Church. Very strong, very heavy. Songs like the title track, By the Numbers, Rot Away. These are great, consistent tracks, all in a row. Mike Howe sounds just like he did in the 80s, which I don't know how that's even possible at this point. Kurt Vanderhoof is consistently putting out riffs that are catchy and melodic. Great solos, licks, and leads. Very impressive. So, if you're into classic 80s thrash metal, Damned If You Do is the album for you. Next up, we have one of the best metal bands of all time, Saxon, who was leading the new wave of British heavy metal movement back in the 80s before Iron Maiden, and continue to put out fresh-sounding material to this day. Classics like Sacrifice and Battering Ram, which are really great. But to me, the most solidified album is 2018's Thunderbolt. To me, this album really does have a lot of strong moments. Songs like Secrets of Flight, Nosferatu, which is really dark. And they even did a tribute to Lemmy with a good, high-energy rockin' song called They Played Rock and Roll. Better than another band who did something similar but can't quite remember the name. Anyway, Thunderbolt. Very much recommended if you like old, classic British metal. And they even did some speed metal sounding songs. Speed Merchant and Sniper are two of my personal favorites off the album. So there it is, Thunderbolt, number 4. Coming up at number 3 is Dying to Existence by Hatchet. Now, when I first heard this album, I was like, I just could not believe how heavy this thing was. And, you know, if you like bands like Havoc, you're most likely going to like this. But if you don't like bands like Havoc, people say that they're generic and repetitive, and so that's probably going to rub you the wrong way, saying that this is like a really heavy album. Like, I'm not saying it's Dark Angel tier, but if you do like some nice thrash metal in the 21st century, Overkill's latest material, Testament's latest material, but you want to step outside those popular bands, I would very much recommend Hatchet, other great bands like Suicidal Angels and Lich King, who are all very consistent in the 21st century. But this thing's got some very nice, high energy, tempo changes, great riffs. Number 3, Dying to Existence. At number 2, we have Artillery. Now, this is a band that had some really underrated material in their heyday, but in the 2000s, that's when they really started to push the envelope as far as consistency. Back in 2009 with their old singer, they put out When Death Calls, which is really strong. And then they brought in their latest singer, Michael Dahl, who's really great vocally in the high and mid-range, starting with Legions, which is really good, and then one of my personal favorite albums of the 21st century, Penalty by Perception. Now, to me, this thing is basically a masterpiece. Pretty much no filler to be found anywhere on it. The only album that I thought was personally better in 2016 is, of course, the Normie Answer, Megadeth's Dystopia. So, what are you going to do with that? But this thing, Face of Fear, this is... Now, if I'm going to be honest, it's not quite as good as Penalty by Perception. I mean, to me, that thing really was flawless in my eyes. But these songs are the natural progression of the band after that album. I mean, I don't really know how you would follow up an album like that. So, if you're a little iffy on Artillery, because I know there's some guys who think it's overrated, their stuff isn't really that strong, and they skip around the album a lot. To me, this is a nice, recent album to look into how good they are as of today. So there it is, Face of Fear. Very good, very strong. Alright, folks. We have reached the end of the list. There's nowhere else to go but forward. What is my personal favorite album of 2018? Now, if you have been paying attention throughout this video and noticed a big hint, you may have been able to ponder that perhaps my favorite album is, without a doubt, Firepower. Now, of course, it's kind of the sellout answer. Everyone's expecting me to say Firepower because it's Judas Priest. They're a very popular band. However, I'm willing to defend myself, alright? Because to me, this record is everything I love about the band. Nice, short, melodic, radio-friendly songs, and it's consistent. I mean, I admit, there's songs on here that I skip, like No More Heroes. I mean, I love the Vets and all, but to me, that song really doesn't represent the strongest part of this album. Children of the Sun and Rising from Ruins are a little iffy to me. Now, some people think those are some of the best songs because it's like power metal-esque, but to me, that's where the critics do win. It is a little skippable and doesn't hold up as well. However, when you put together all the strong songs on this album, Lightning Strikes Again, Evil Never Dies, Traitor's Gates, I mean, to me, that song really represents the peak of 2000s heavy metal. I mean, to me, it's heavy, it's dark, atmospheric, it's got everything. To me, that really is the climax of the record. But I mean, I'm not even done yet. I haven't even said Flamethrower, Spectre, No Surrender could be on any car commercial, any radio that wants to play it. I mean, to me, this really does represent the heart and soul of Judas Priest in the 21st century, proving that metal is still alive. I mean, for God's sakes, this album was so good. I got it twice. Does that not say something? Does that not say how valuable this record is? Easily my favorite from 2018. So that does it, folks. Top 7 albums of 2018 for me, personally. Obviously, this is all subjective, but this does it for me. And I swear to God, if I see the Struts on any list, listen, Eddie Trunk, we're waking up to your nonsense. It's over, buddy, alright? You're done. In 2019, we're taking over, alright? You're canceled.